what we have been informed, go straight to the courtroom, and when we came already, we got him already seated. So we didn't see him moving by himself and coming into the courtroom, because we really got him when he was already seated. So that is the situation. But what I can tell you, and what we saw and what our camera did picture, that he cannot walk, Samson. And so as you can get my picture, and behind that there's a lot of conversation taking place. You can see the Honorable Medet Segona, Honorable Gilbert Olanyi, Honorable Akola Anthony having a conversation with a team of the UPDF soldiers who are also part of the defense here as well. And also the other side, we're seeing retired General Mugisha Muntu also having a conversation with some of the lawyers as well. So that is what we can tell you. The wife as well look worried, and been telling us really that Bobi Wine, from what she has seen, it is extremely weak. But what we can confirm to you, we didn't see Bobi Wine move up. There's a time when General Guti entered the courtroom, and by the law of the courtroom, when the chairman or the magistrate enters a courtroom, we need to get up. So we tried to get up later on, but Bobi Wine couldn't get up. Now the arguments that have been in court, really, the defense team that comprised of Nicholas Opio, Honorable Medet Segona, they were definitely submitting to the court that the charges be dropped, because there's no any jurisdiction of this court to try Honorable Chagulanyi Robert in this court. So they're urging the court to drop the charges that have been charged on Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, and definitely they're waiting for it. And after that conversation as well, we saw an objection coming in from the prosecuting team, but that was how it was by the time that we came for a break. So we saw Honorable Guti Andrew really went for a break there and said we are going to have a 10 minutes break. But what we can tell you, the defense is arguing that the case, the charges that have charged with Honorable Chagulanyi Robert be dropped immediately, and that is the the submission as well. So Samson, that is what is happening. A lot of conversation happening outside the court. We have seen the team of Andrew Guti still inside as well. They're still having a discussion, and the rest of the team are outside. So that is what is happening in the military barracks at 4th Division in Gulu as well. Samson, that's what is happening. So you can still see the conversation outside the court as well. So that's what we have. I can see Nicholas Opio there having a conversation with the military officers. I'm seeing Honorable Segana also having a conversation with the military as well. I'm also seeing the wife to Honorable Robert Chagulanyi also standing and having a conversation with the former leader of opposition here at Gulu Military Barracks. What I can inform our viewers is we are live, and we shall be bringing this live. Studio, back to you, studio. Back to you, Samson, in the studio.
Thank you very much, Benson Ngom, our colleague who is reporting live out of Gulu. Joseph, has the state avoided a constitutional catastrophe here?
But you see, Samson, I think the question everyone is asking right now is, how did we get here?
Yes.
In the first place, how did we get here? That a young man is picked by the military, taken into custody in a military barracks, kept for a couple of days for the state to show up and withdraw and terminate the charges.
Then the next thing we know, there are supposed to be guns found in his hotel. The hotel owner is saying his doors were kicked and he didn't see those guns at all, and then the search was done by the same people prosecuting. That was always going to be a very difficult one to manage.
Absolutely. I think the question we'll be asking lawyers and people who speak for the government in the next couple of hours is that fundamental question of how did we get here in the first place? We know that a scenario like this happened in 2005, the treason charges surrounding Dr. Kizza Besigye. Remember the protracted legal battles between Dr. Besigye and the state before the case finally moved from the General Court Martial to actually the High Court. And it is clear, I spoke to General Muntu, the man who was among those who set up the structures of the court martial when he was in command of the UPDF, and he said this is supposed to be a service court. It's supposed to be for trying officers, errant officers of the UPDF, but also a slight provision was put in to include people who are engaged in the
Itongas,
yes,
the
yes, that kind of generation of suspects, the Joseph Coin kind of crime. That provision, I beg your pardon, according to General Muntu, was actually
just to bring you up to speed. Samson Kasumba picks up guns. He goes to some bush anywhere, and he's not a soldier, but he's fighting against the government, then you arrest him in the process, you take him to the general court martial. You can't try him to the civilian court. I think that would make sense.
Yeah, but arresting a member of parliament, and so remember we've been asking questions about the procedure used for the arrest, the amount of force used for the arrest. You can, if you listen to Benson Ongom, the gentleman cannot walk. Everybody went into the courtroom when he was already seated there. He was carried in there, and so the next conversation we are going to have after, of course, I think the big issue now the nation is waiting for is the ruling of General Guti
over the matter, because we don't know yet.
Yes, we don't know that yet, and that is, I think, the determinant factor in what conversation we shall be having. As soon as he makes his ruling, and he has a tough decision to make, whether to hand over this young man to police and make the military general court martial an arresting agency, or to actually free the young man, I mean the suspect, and then the police starts their own processes. And I think that is what we shall be discussing after that. But for now, I am really itching to hear what General Andrew Guti has to say. But also, when we have the conversation, we'll be asking, how did we get here in the first place?
How did we get to the place where you arrest somebody over charges of illegal possession of firearms only to lose interest?
That's the big question. They're not losing interest as such, but have they just realized that he should have been tried in the civilian courts anyway? Did it take from 16th when he was arrested, today is the 23rd, how many days to realize that the court martial was for certain people, but and the civilian was supposed to be tried before the high court, which has jurisdiction for charges like that?
Something what I want to know from you, if he was found in illegal possession of firearms, and the UPDF argued that once you're found in the legal possession of firearms, you're tried by the general court martial. Abdallah Kitata is there for the same offense. So how do you find somebody in illegal possession of firearms, and then you argue that that's always the preserve of the general court martial, then you take him to the civilian court? Isn't that, I mean, having double standards over the same thing?
The High Court has jurisdiction to try cases like treason, like the ones we're talking about.
Then why isn't Abdallah Kitata there as well?
Well, I think the circumstances, that's a question we'll be putting to lawyers. The circumstances, I do not know if his lawyers have challenged the trials before the court martial, but also you know that the two suspects, the two people facing trial have very different situations. Abdallah Chitata, for example, worked with a sort of paramilitary group, the Boda Boda 2010. They worked very closely with General Kale, whom we gather could be arraigned before the general court martial today. And so the circumstances are very different.
My sources say that he was cleared of all the charges apart from abuse of office or neglect of duty. Just the two.
That's what we're getting, and so I think that the context will determine the arguments we make in either direction. And so this is someone they're saying was having a sort of paramilitary organization, working with the chief of police at the time, the person who at one point actually directed the presidential convoy in the middle of the city. If you remember that picture of Abdallah Chitata.
Picked a microphone off an IGP.
Yes, absolutely. And the man who was so powerful, he seemed to work very closely with security chiefs and with the commander-in-chief. While this was a politician who went to support a fellow politician, was picked from the hotel, kept in military detention, and charged in the general court martial. I think that sets the difference.
Let me just ask you here, Joseph Sabiti, the fact that you have Major General Mugisha Muntu in the same court, Major General Mugisha Muntu still enjoys a lot of respect within the top echelons of the UPDF. And you just mentioned that Major General Mugisha Muntu was part of the officers of the UPDF who set up these systems. Does it make it difficult when you have a man like Major General Mugisha Muntu in the same court to make a decision and to see you fluffing over issues that he actually understands very well?
I don't think General Muntu can do anything. The ultimate powers in that court lies with General Guti, and then whatever he says, Samson, will be followed. But again, I beg your pardon, he has people above him.
Yeah.
He has a commander-in-chief. He has the chief of defense forces. Remember, the general court-martial lies within the structural commands of the UPDF.
Precisely.
And so General Muntu's presence there can only do much because he doesn't call the shots anymore. He parted with the system. He's in the opposition. He has been president of the biggest opposition party. Many people think he has his eyes on the presidency. He will not certainly make any orders within the confines of the barracks.
Sure,
but maybe if it's a psychological effect,
yes.
you know, someone who was once on the other side, in a position bigger than yours, seated this side, and remember he's writing to the men in uniform. If you read the message
he wrote to them, and I think that was very deliberate.
Yes, and said, look, I have been there. I understand what you're going through, but at some point work for a situation whereby when you're out of the military, you will be able to fit in your country and live. Probably if we're talking about the psychological, you know, the psychological issues and that's what his presence can bring. But I can tell you in the military, order ni order, like they usually say.
But again, why I bring in General Muntu, in all this, General Muntu has been very careful where he has been seen. You were with him, again in the same place in Gulu. After the Gulu, when you were there, of all the things that have been happening in Kampala, he's been silent. And he's been missing in action. When he comes back again, he's again back to Gulu, to the General Court Martial. Then when he writes to officers in uniform over these matters. Do you think that General Muntu, a man who chooses his words very carefully, knows how to plan ahead, knows how to work structures and build structures? Do you think that General Muntu is being deliberate here? Or is just General Muntu just writing aimlessly?
Well, the last couple of years of my journalism, I think you're describing the General Muntu I've known. He's highly calculative. He doesn't do things just like that. He's very, you know, deliberate on the things he does. For example, you remember there was that moment when he joined the walk to work demonstrations.
Sure.
And as he walked on the streets, remember there was one of the officers from Ginger Road who saluted him and lost his job after that.
Yeah.
I think he still has that kind of impact.
Because then puts in a very difficult
yes.
situation, because many people, even when there are security situations in the country and you go to get a bite from General Muntu, he will commend the UPDF. He will never insult them. He will never slaughter them. He's always insisted there are many professional people within the forces. I know they can deal with the situation. So because he never attacks them, when he shows up when there's an issue, he puts them in a very difficult place.
Well, again, I remember vividly my interview with General Muntu outside the 4th Division headquarters, where my colleague Benson Ongom is. And he was saying we need to learn to separate security from politics. And according to him, that was the problem facing the men and women in uniform. And he was saying you cannot use the army and the military to achieve political ends. And you know, he's very careful about what he says about the army, rightly so, because he was at the highest levels of command for 10 years.
Robert Segona.
Maybe that guides the situation, how he conducts himself. But this was a cause he probably needed to appear for. He has been speaking out against violations of rights of citizens by certain rogue officers.
At the 4th Division Military Barracks, where Honorable Robert Chaglaj has been brought for trial today. Hopes are high from his relatives, friends, and his honorable members of parliament, or his colleague, that he will be granted bail. But I'm being joined by Honorable Medet Segona, and probably want to get clear clarification, because the argument we had from court that the charges that were on Honorable Chaglaj Robert has been dropped. So we want to get it right from Honorable Medet. Medet, we want to confirm, has the charges been dropped?
Well, the bogus charges have been dropped. They claim they prefer charging him with the more serious offense of treason, with which his other colleagues stand charged and were remanded. So this one stands withdrawn. There are no more charges. Their only issue was that they wanted the court-martial to hand him over to the police, which we protested. It's not their duty. Once charges are withdrawn, the court-martial has no powers over him. And he's a free man. If the police want him, let them summon him. So we insist that it's improper for the general court-martial, after withdrawing charges, to hand him over. There is no evidence. They are bringing extraneous evidence that there are charges against him pending elsewhere. There are no charges, at least as far as the record of the court-martial is concerned. So that's our protest, and we're waiting for their ruling.
What do you expect now from the ruling? Just preempting from there, what is the expectation?
Now, that is not me. I do not speculate. I can have expectations. And for professional reasons, I keep those expectations to myself. I do not want to make speculations or my expectations public. Whatever happens, we are ready.
Just before I let you go, Robert Segona, what are the options for bail? Do you see options for bail in this circumstance? The court is saying we're dropping the charges and handing Honorable Chagulanyi to police.
A bail process can only be undertaken when someone has a charge. My client has no charge against him. I will not speculate on that.
Thank you. That has been Honorable Medet Segona, probably saying he can still preempt what is going to happen, but he'll give us his views after the ruling as well. But he's saying probably if Honorable Chagulanyi, if the army wants to hand in Honorable Chagulanyi to the police and police to charge him with treason, then they should follow the procedure, go to Parliament, file to the Speaker of Parliament as well, and get a clear response from Parliament. But as far as they understand and they know, there are no charges pending on Honorable Robert Chagulanyi in any police. So that is from him. We shall be getting more from him in a later bit as well, as we try to discuss with him after the court. So that is from the legal mind there, Honorable Medet Segona. Back to you, Samson, in the studio.
Thank you very much, Benson Ngom, who is reporting for us live out of Gulu, and we can confirm from what we hear that the charges before the General Court Martial against Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, Member of Parliament, Chadondo East, have been dropped. But the court insists that since there are charges against him elsewhere, they want to transfer him over to the civilian courts where he has charges. His lawyers are protesting that it is not the work of a court to arrest on behalf of the civilian courts. And then there was a break of about 10 minutes waiting for the decision of the chairman of the General Court Martial, General Guti. Joseph Sabiti is with me here in the studio. Joseph, it's still that breaking news story that the charges against Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, Member of Parliament, Chadondo East, have been dropped, but there is still a situation, and in minutes we'll get to know how the man at the center of the news right now, General Andrew Guti, is going to deal with this one.
And I think that's really what I'm paying attention to. For now, I think the nation wants to know whether the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi will be a free man by the end of today, whether he will be released and actually he will be able to gain freedom pending the proceedings in the civilian court. I'm reading very interesting comments from one of if I can just one of our friends, a political journalist in town, John Serranico, and he's saying his view is that he thinks General Muntu hasn't pushed hard enough to the point where the commander-in-chief gives orders for him to be dealt with the Dr. Besigye way. And he's actually giving a perspective saying, look, around 2001, Dr. Besigye was also getting occasional salutes, but when he pushed the system so hard, the orders changed. And I think it rhymes with what I was telling you, that in the military, it is orders. And probably General Muntu, I think, I would like to agree with John, that hasn't pushed that the system that hard enough to warrant the orders for certain kinds of actions.
But some are saying that the state does have a way out. Release Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu on his way out of court. Rearrest him. Hasn't the state done this before? That could be an option. Do you see that happening here?
That's why I am very keen to avoid speculation. You know, the big event we have before.
We are saying we've seen it before.
Yes, it has happened. It is on record that it has happened at the High Court, for example, during the trial of the PRA suspects. Remember that time when Dr. Besigye was facing treason charges alongside other suspects of the People's Redemption Army. And that they said was, yes.
Black Mambas.
And the Black Mamba.
You don't expect Black Mambas inside the barracks.
The Black Mamba Urban Hit Squad actually raided the court, the High Court.
They can't raid the
rearrested. But the difference is that this was a civilian court, yes, and the other is a military court within the confines
inside
of the barracks.
Over barracks,
yeah,
yes.
and so they can't probably go beyond the barracks. But I think what we're waiting to see is what will happen. I think I've seen a lot of reactions on social media. The country is responding to the news that the charges have been terminated. I think the defining moment for our broadcast today will be that moment when General Andrew Guti returns to the courtroom, makes a ruling, and what happens after the ruling. That is going to be the headline for today's bulletin.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you watching us in Luganda, basebo ne banyabo abalaba olutimbe gagadde nabasa oba NBS. Amawulire getufunye okuva mu kooti y'amagye nga agikulira ye General Andrew Guti galaga nti omubaka wa Parliament owa Kyaddondo ey'Ebuvanjuba Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu agiddwako emisango egyali gyamuteekebwako mu kooti y'amagye nga kigambibwa nti oluvannyuma lw'okuba akalulu akaali kaddiza abantu b'omu Arua munisipaali ya Arua omubaka oluvannyuma lw'omubaka waabwe omubaka abiriga okuttibwa wano wakati mu Kampala waliwo akavuvuŋŋano ku woteeri gye bayita Pacific. Akavuvuŋŋano ako nga kawedde moloka eyo moloka ya mukulembeze wa ggwanga n'abo abajaasi balabika bakulembera mukulembeze wa ggwanga. Ebyo tetujja kubiyingiramu nnyo naye nga kirabika waliwo olugero olujja luyingira naye nga tetujja kuyingirayo nnyo eyo naye nga obubonero bulaga nti emmotoka eyo erabwako eriko ne bendera. Emmotoka eyo etera kuba ya mukulembeze wa ggwanga ate nga n'obukuumi obulabika bwa mukulembeze wa ggwanga waliwo olugero olunene olulabika eruddaawo ate nga omukulembeze w'eggwanga abadde waggulu naye nga okuddayo ku lugero lwe tubaddeko omubaka wa Kyaddondo ey'Ebuvanjuba Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu agiddwako emisango gye. Kalumanywera wajjidde nti bw'amaze okugibwako emisango egyo kooti y'amagye n'egamba nti olw'okubanga alina emisango emirala eja Naggomola agiddwako gino egy'emmundu naye olw'okubanga abadde n'emisango emirala eja Naggomola mu kooti enkulu awalala eggulu tebaagala kumuwa kufuluma nti baagala okumukwata bamuwe bali abamuvunaana emisango egy'obwannaggommola. Kaakano nno bapulida be nga bakulemberwa pulida Medad Segona we basitukidde ne bagamba mu bukakkamu obw'ekitalo ne bagamba akulira kooti y'amagye nti awe waawo newankubadde alina emisango emirala wano mu kooti yo tewaliiwo bukakafu bulaga nti emisango egyo gyaleeteddwa wano. Ne bamulabula nti wajja kubaawo kalumanywera bw'onookozesa kooti yo okubeera nga yekwatira ku ludda lw'abantu abalala ng'ate kooti eyandibadde ewulirwa emisango yandibadde ate olw'okubanga yo ewulira musango si eyandyenyigidde mu kukwata abantu. Kakati naawo kalumanywera wagenze mu maaso onaasika mugwazze eno onaasika zeeri naye ng'era babisikira mu byabwe by'amateeka ge baasoma koga nti katugende mu lwendo olw'amazzi tunywemu ku lwendo olw'amazzi awo tulowoozeemuko eddakiika zijja kuba wazindaba 12 kakati nno mu ddakiika ezo 12 mwe bali eruddaawo bapulida ba Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu bawanaganyaamu awo banyumyamu awo ne bali abavunaana aba gavumenti. Mwana wange bonna baasoma mulimu gumu baasoma bintu byebimu oba banakkiriziganya oba tebakkiriziganye gwe nange ffe tuli wano kulindirira naye nga olutambi lwa television kamera zaffe ziri ku General Andrew Guti oyo yagenda okuba ow'ekitawuluzi olwaleero naye nga kamera ezaffe ezigezezaako ennyo okulaba ku omubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Tutegeezeddwa omusasi waffe Benson Ngom ali eggulu essaawa eno nti babagambye nti omubaka ajja kugwa mu kisaawe ekirinaanye barracks division eyokuna yeggulu oba wandigambye nti akakundi akokuna akeggulu naye nti awo bagenza okutuukawo tebalabye ng'agwa tebalabye engeri gyayingiziddwamu bagenza okumusanga basanze atudde mu katebe nti naye alabika nga mugayaavu ddala alabika nga munafu ddala omubiri gulabika munafu ddala n'olwekyo yembeera gye tutegeezebwako omubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu naye ng'era wabaddewo era obubaka bwe tubadde tukyalina yalabiddwako jo amyuka akubiriza olukiiko lwa Paalamenti ng'agamba nti musanze musajja nga n'akamwenyumwenyu kwikali gira kamaanyi kati ebibadde bikyali awo byonna bwe bityo bwe bibadde bifaanana. Kaakano nno njagala era okuddayo wano tuwayeemu n'omusajja munnange wano Joseph Sabiti naye sijja muzza mu Luganda musajja ayinza okweruma olulimi wano. Joseph Sabiti, I will excuse you from vernacular. Mine is not the best, but I think I've tried.
Yeah, you do quite well. And you know, I have been reflecting on the so many days that have happened. If we flash back to 13th of August, the day when we were reporting about the clash of the Titans. We didn't actually mean a clash between the security agencies and then sections of supporters of a candidate. We thought the three bigwigs in the politics of the country were heading to put their foot on the ground and then to get their candidates through. President Yoweri Museveni was at Arua Hill Primary School grounds. The Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu and Wadri Kasiano, who is facing treason charges, by the way, now before the courts in Gulu, were at the prisons. And Dr. Kiza Besigye, whom we gather has just been taken in by the Uganda Police Force. We have just confirmed that he has been arrested from his home in Kasangati. He was being driven to Nagalama Police Station, according to a lot of news happening. Yeah, so a lot of things, and homes of opposition leaders under police surveillance. I think we also had the mayor. Yes, the mayor's home. Even the lawyer, the Honorable Segona's home, has been cordoned by the police. And so that day we thought we would be looking at political analysis. We'll be looking at who pulled the crowds, who is going to sway the election, until that moment of madness in the evening of the 13th of August. That's when the headlines shifted from a heated by-election to actually this unfortunate event that involved the security detail of the Presidential Special Forces Command. And you see, when you see from that time the different arrests that were made, including the different beatings of journalists and as well as politicians, and the different issues that have come up. I think it's been a long week for the security agencies, trying to put everything together to make sure that the country stays firm in the different aspects. And I think a lot of debate. I've never seen Uganda discuss politics that much in a long time, and so I think everybody is finally realizing that we all have a stake in this country. I remember the statement from the Deputy Speaker Jacob Olanya yesterday saying there's enough space for all of us. After saying this should never have happened. Shouldn't have happened in the past. Joseph, it seemed as if that was the motorcade of the Commander-in-Chief entering 4th Division Headquarters, Gulu. If that shot is to be believed, it wasn't file photoed that. The 4th Division Headquarters is a barracks. We know, for example, we've reported about the president meeting leaders from Gulu and Amuro over their power land crisis. Remember that we extensively covered up. I was down there. And so the commander-in-chief, in his capacity as the head of state, can go anywhere. Yes, can go anywhere. But also I know he has been trying to find a solution to the problems of Apa. Remember the unending conflict between the people from Ajumani. So he's been within the area. Yeah, so he has been within the area. He has held meetings. If you've seen that picture circulating on social media, where he was greeting the new leader of opposition and she was all laughing. That happened within the confines of that barracks. So my guess is that the commander-in-chief could have been there. And the journalists there, do you think that he might give a bite? He is around the place. No, there are journalists. Do you think? Absolutely not. You've reported for some time. If the commander-in-chief is in the area, these are the circumstances. As a journalist, are you thinking, what can I do to get an interview? It would be the biggest strategic error on the side of any journalist to even be about to think of attempting to do that. You have seen those who have tried to do that. Now, this is the president of the country and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If you want an interview with the president, Samson, you know the procedures, and you know what should be done. And in the middle of a barracks, there is nobody who is going to let you get close to the president at a moment like this. Somebody, I'll take you back. I think it must have been the year 2010. The president, I think, was beginning his campaign. I was a lecturer at Bugema University at the time. He lands. Nobody expected it, but we saw the motorcade of the president coming to the university. He lands on the field, and after landing, sometimes he has his way, to be honest. If he decides to speak to the media, he will. I don't think he would use that approach of showing up at a court martial. That would be very, very suicidal in terms of public relations. I think let's go to Benson. Benson?
What I can tell you at the moment, viewers and people definitely were watching, we're still at the military barracks where Honorable Robert Chagulanyi is being tried. But what I can tell you, there's a lot of conversation. Actually, I've seen the official from the military court calling people back in the courtroom for another discussion. So that's what is happening. If you can see my picture as well, my cameraman is pushing through. And we are getting back to the courtroom, and that is what I can tell you at the moment.
Thank you so much. Let's just take you back to what is happening within town as we watch that. Kiseka Market has already ruptured into celebrations as we wait for the final decision from the General Court Martial chaired by Lieutenant General Andrew Guti. That's the picture of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. Those are shots by Thomas Kitimbo. Somebody is in the shot there, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. But we do hear that Kiseka Market has already broken into ululations and celebrations, even when we are still waiting for the decision from Andrew Guti's court, that is General Andrew Guti. But as well, since the wee hours of the morning, there's been quite a bit of presence of security in and around Kampala, and many of my colleagues here said that from whichever route they came, there was an indication that security is any and everywhere. And of course, some top politicians here have had their homes cordoned off, but that's everybody being invited back into the courtroom there. That is the General Court Martial getting tongue twisted on a Thursday morning at about 17 past 11 to be honest, East African Standard Time. We're still waiting for the big decision of
the moment everyone has been waiting for, and that moment is going to determine a lot of things. It's going to determine what happens after there, and what precedent is set in the operations of the General Court Martial. Now, court rulings are not just academic exercises. They set precedents. Yeah. They're going to be quoted by lawyers in the coming days, and so the nation is keeping it on General Andrew Guti.
Is it the nation or the world?
Well,
because this story has gone all over the world.
I have seen a lot of reactions from the international community, but I think it's a matter of Ugandan politics, and the Ugandan context takes precedence. And so right there, a lot of discussions about the state in which the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi is, and a lot of us have been saying, I think the best thing for government to do is to show this man to the public, and I think now the nation can be able to guess the state in which he is in, but also we're looking forward to see what this decision of General Guti and the court martial will be. And Samson, I can tell you that will determine how the days of the people in the newsroom, and as well as, and right there, General Andrew Guti, I think, seated already. Let's get in and listen to what he has to say.
Let's just listen in.
Case number UPDF stock GMC stock 036 stock 2018 Uganda versus Honorable Chagulanyi Robert, also known as Bobi Wine. Ruling of court. This court, having received an application from the Council for the State to the effect that the accused person, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, is required in civil court to be tried with other accused persons who are not before this court, basing on the same facts as charged. The defense lawyers, in reply, agrees that the proceedings before this court be terminated, but submitted that the accused should be set free. This court agrees that it will indeed be a double jeopardy to the accused persons if proceedings before this court continue. Accordingly, this court pronounces itself on the applications as follows. 1. That continuing to try the accused persons on the same facts of another case in a civil court will cause injustice to the accused. 2. That it is fair and equitable that the accused person be tried in civil court, where he is to be charged with other suspects who are not before this court. 3. This court hereby terminates the proceedings against Honorable Robert Chagulanyi before this court, You are accordingly set free unless being held on other charges. We saw rule done at Gulu this 23rd day of August 2018 under my hand and seal of this court.
At exactly 11:20.
Despite the presence of the director, if you see the lady behind her,
yes,
it looks like the director CID
yes.
of the Uganda Police Force.
Yes.
Grace Akulo is actually in the general court martial.
So
could that be pointing to something?
It's
yes.
not yet done because that is Grace Akulo.
Yes, the director CID.
And former CID.
Yes, so what
and
we're
she's standing in court.
Right, absolutely. So what I think we're looking at is to see whether police will actually be arresting him or he will be getting temporary freedom pending the proceedings before the civilian courts. But I cite
one story away.
Yes, one story away. And you remember the ruling of General Guti saying, unless is being held for other charges. And so I think we need to watch the moments from here more carefully. And so for the moment, I think you can see he's being handled by his colleagues from Parliament, and so for the moment we can say he is actually, for now, you can say he has secured a temporary freedom, but we need to watch that movement from here, from the 4th Division headquarters to outside the barracks very, very keenly to see how especially the Uganda Police Force will respond, considering that now they will be taking over the investigations of the different charges that should be preferred against him in the courts of law.
Well, for our Uganda viewers, what we're hearing, that's Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu walking with the aid of clutches. They are being helped out of the court. Basebo ne banyabo kyetuwulira nti omubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu agiddwako emisango egibadde mu kooti y'amagye n'agamba kooti ng'egamba nti kijja kuba si kya bwenkanya okubanga bagenda mu maaso okumuvunaana emisango mu kooti ey'amagye ng'ate emisango giri mu kooti ndala ne baga nti bamutadde okuggyako nga alina emisango awalala. Naye tulabye nti omukyala Grace Akulo oyo nga wa Uganda Police Force ekitongole kya poliisi wano mu ggwanga mu kooti abaddemu, n'olwekyo tukyalindirira okulaba ki ekigenda okubaawo. Grace Akulo bw'abanga waali ate ng'oyo wa CID abanoonyereza abapoliisi, n'olwekyo bayinza okubanga omusango guli ogwa nnagomola oguli mu kooti eyaffe eya bulijjo, ng'ate n'ababaka abalala nabo gye bali. Oyo mubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu okutambula kulabika si kwangu nnyo, n'olwekyo tukyalindirira tulabe ki ekigenda okuddirira. Medad Segona pulida we ayina byamuyitiramu, tetumanyi oba ayina byategezeddwako erudda naye nga tukyalindira katuwulire oba tunaawulira ku Medad Segona.
I am going to sit with him. I said I cannot go with him. I am happy to sit in their car. They informed me that we are going straight to court where the charges are waiting for him. In his state, I don't want us to engage in any quarrel with them. Okay. We shall fight from court the same way we have fought here. Accordingly, I have been informed to inform you that you are under arrest. We shall cooperate with them to the extent that we can. They say we are going to use this car. The police car? In this car. Yes, to the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu.
Yeah, we shall follow.
Yeah, you follow us. We need you. Kindly give us way.
Okay. Don't worry.
Okay. No, fine. It's okay. You need to use I can only trust a call here.
Yeah.
Can we have that?
Where's the wife?
She's okay. Okay.
Any relief? Bobi is here. Hello?
Long time
to watch was the moments that followed the ruling of General Andrew Guti, and the moment I cited the director CID in the courtroom, and then I knew something was cooking. It was obvious that the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu will be handed over to, he will be picked by the Uganda Police Force after that moment. And so for the first time, he gets to actually take a ride with his wife, Bobi, right there, headed straight to the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu, where they will be reading charges, I guess, of treason and illegal possession of firearms to him. And we're going back to fresh proceedings in court. But at least I think the hurdle for the legal team has been get this case from the Military General Court Martial, transfer it to the civilian courts, where Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu can get access to, you know, his people visiting him, and where he will be subject to the civilian rules. And I think that's the first score, and that was what they intended from the word go.
But Sabiti, I think we must, Joseph, we must applaud the Uganda Police Force. That is a Uganda Police vehicle, UP7498. I think it's been a long time since we saw somebody being arrested this way. I think he's been arrested in a very responsible way. We have seen a lot of arrests that could have gone all over the place. He has been, that's Grace Akulo, Director, CID. But I think that's how Ugandans should be arrested. That's how members of parliament should be arrested, riding in a police car with their spouses. I think that's a very good way to rearrest somebody. I think that's class from the Uganda Police Force. Give credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
We have seen worse.
But I think for those, you talked about jubilations in Kiseka and in other places across the country. I kind of, when I saw Grace Akulo, my journalistic instincts told me this is not just an academic presence. And so we are going to have to wait now to see if, and remember, the Chief Magistrate's Court does not have jurisdiction to try a case of treason.
So it is the same.
So
it's going to be the same
he's
thing.
simply going to be charged and remanded to civil prison this time, and probably the lawyers can get orders for medical attention, or you remember the orders that were made for the Honorable Kassiano Wadri.
Yes.
So from the look of
so
things,
he can't even enter plea.
No, because the court does not have, the Chief Magistrate's Court does not have jurisdiction to try the case.
So he's going to be taken to a court that doesn't have jurisdiction, which we already know.
Yes,
they will read the charges
to him,
then
and he will not take plea. And probably the lawyers will make a request for the court to grant orders that he has access to his private doctors and is given the best medical facility at his cost, and the court will adjourn and off he goes to civil prison.
Ombaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu bw'amaze okuteebwa kooti y'amagye, poliisi n'emutegeeza nti azzeemu okukwatibwa olw'okubanga alina emisango ejja Nnaggomera mu kooti endala, mu kooti ya Chief Magistrate ey'eggulu, era ne wabeerawo emmoloka ya poliisi ebadde emulindiridde gye mulengedde emmoloka awo enjeru. Naye ku mulundi guno poliisi ekoze bulungi, n'emukwata bulungi, tewabaddeewo kusikamigwa, n'ayingira mu mmoloka ye ne mukyala we balabiddwako nga bali wamu oluvannyuma lw'ebbanga eddene. Tubadde tutunalaba ku kifaananyi ekyo, n'ayingira mu mmoloka. Pulida we n'amugamba nti kye tuyinza okukola ku mulundi guno tegeezeddwa okutegeeza nti okwatiddwa era ogenda mu kooti ya Chief Magistrate eggulu, kati eyo nno gye balaze ate awere ennembe n'omusango ogwa Nnaggomera. Kye tutegeezeddwako munnanga ategeera bino, agambye nti eyo gye bamututte ekigenda okubaawo nti olunaamutuusa bajja kusoma emisango egyo, naye omulamuzi ajja mutegeeza nti kooti eno tokkirizibwa kubaako kyonna kyonyega, kubanga kooti teyina buvunaanyizibwa ku misango gino, olwo biryoke bifaanane bwe bityo. Naye ate katukirireko wansi mu kibuga where Colonel Mugume, my colleague, is, where there were jubilations a little earlier, to find out how the mood is. Colonel, there were jubilations around Kiseka when it was said that Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu had his charges dropped in the court-martial. Now he has been rearrested over treason charges. Are those ululations and jubilations still on, or has Kiseka market just gone mute?
Well, the jubilations have actually been stopped by the military and police presence. What you see, what is happening there is that the military is trying to keep calm the people right here. There are border borders who are trying to get notice. So that's why you see officers of the military police are trying to make sure that transport is smooth and going on very, very well. Earlier on, about 30 minutes ago, there were celebrations here in Seka Market because actually what had been interpreted as what is happening in Gulu is that Bobi Wine had been freed after the state dropped all the charges. So the people here interpreted it as if he has been freed, but they were waiting for that continuation of the court sitting. That's why they were celebrating right here in Seka Market. But later on, the celebrations were cut short after they actually realized that on NBS television, the court was resuming in about 10 minutes. So they had to wait on to see what happens after that. And now celebrations had just began after news came in that actually he had been freed, but they were stopped immediately after military police and anti-riot police deployed more of their soldiers to make sure that there are no celebrations whatsoever. So they were also protesting they were also planning to protest in case the legislator Bobi Wine was rearrested, but so far nothing is taking place. They are just people seeing and looking on at events from their shops, while others are glued on their TV stations on NBS to make sure that they observe events. So waiting to see if they're actually going to protest upon Bobi Wine's arrest, and if that actually is going to happen. We're waiting to see what actually happens. Let me give you a picture of deployment right here. This is military police maintaining presence here at Chiseka Market. This is the main street that comes from Old Kampala and goes all the way to KPCs. So military has maintained presence right here. But also let me give you a picture of anti-riot police that has deployed right here on my extreme left, because it is keeping presence to make sure that people do not protest, and also people do not actually go into celebrations because they can turn out to be chaotic. But also what I want to confirm to you is that there are no confrontations between the people and the military right now as we speak. The situation is really, really calm and everything is moving on smoothly, apart from businesses that have stalled because people are just watching on to see what happens to the events concerning legislator Bobi Wine. Kasumba.
Well, omulabi wa NBS gwali wa Kiseka n'awali awalala mu ggwanga, amawulire ge tulina kaakano nti omubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu azzeemu n'akwatibwa poliisi n'atwalibwa mu kooti ya magistrate eggulu ng'agenda akuwera ennemba n'omusango ogwa Nnagomola oba ogugezaako okumaamulako gavumenti. Ge mawulire agakyajja bw'amaze okugibwako gino emisango egy'okusangibwa n'emmundu mu kooti y'amagye, ate awagenze okuggweeraawo omulamuzi wa kooti y'amagye agenze okumala okukoona ennyonda eraga nti ye bamutadde, naye ataddemu akawaayiro ti kaakati tokyalina oli musajja wa ddembe okuggyako singa oba olina emisango awalala. Ako mu kulamula kwa General Andrew Guti, omulamuzi wa kooti y'amagye akataddemu, era agenza okumaliriza bw'ati director wa CID Grace Akulo nga naye mwennyini waali mu kooti. Ebyo bigenza okumala okuggwa pleader wa Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu n'amutegeeza Medad Ssegona nti baŋŋambye nkutegeeze nti olina omusango mu kooti ya Chief Magistrate. Kakano wetwogerera kabanga si kanene wakati wawali webadde na wano webali kati batuuse mu Chief Magistrates Court eggulu. Omubaka Medad Ssegona pleader we, omubaka Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, Babi Etungo mkyala we era maama w'abaana be naye abadde naye mu mmotoka ng'agezaako okuwanirira omwami we. Ebyo bwe bityo bwe bibeera. N'olwekyo omulabi wa NBS ago ge mawulire agokya. We are now at the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu. We are very familiar with that.
It serves also as the High Court in Gulu. Remember there was a conversation about not just the jurisdiction in terms of powers, but the territorial jurisdiction. The offenses were allegedly committed in Arua. And so there was a debate on whether actually the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu had territorial jurisdiction to try this case. I saw a very elaborate ruling by the registrar after review of the High Court, giving them the go-ahead to actually continue. And so I think in the next couple of minutes what we're going to see is the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in the dock. Remember, he's under arrest. They informed his lawyer, the Honorable Medad Ssegona, that he's under arrest. From there he will go to the holding cell. Every courtroom has that place where they hold suspect. Then he will walk through into the dock and the prosecution will read the charges to him, and court will inform him that they don't have jurisdiction to try that case. My guess is that the lawyers will make an application in regard to his health, in regard to the ordeal he suffered in the hands of the military, and after that court can only remand him awaiting mention. Remember, his other his other co-accused will return to court on the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're waiting to see is whether he will be coming to court together with them on the 30th. But my guess is that he will be heading to Gulu main prison after here.
Where's Honorable Francis Zake in all this? He doesn't have any charges on him yet.
What is on record is that the head of state says he escaped from hospital and the police is looking for him.
Okay.
Yes. And
does the police know where Rubaga Hospital is?
The police is looking for. I don't even want to go into there. I'm just quoting official sources that the police is looking for him. But yesterday, when the deputy speaker went there, you heard his interview. He said these two gentlemen are in so
the deputy
much
speaker has police around
and
him.
Yesterday, alerts were raised that certain government ministers were bullying doctors at Rubaga Hospital to stop portraying the state in which the Honorable Francis Zake is. That is what we picked. And if you listen to the audio that I used in my story, he was actually telling the deputy speaker that they are intimidating medics who are working on him at the hospital. And so probably...
Oh, they told that to the deputy speaker?
Yes, he actually mentioned it. And the Honorable Sewungu also, speaking to the media later, mentioned it that a certain government minister, when she went to visit the Honorable Francis Zake, went about intimidating medics. That's what we are trying to verify independently, but that's information we are picking from Rubaga Hospital where he's being held. And so from the treason charge sheet in Gulu, the Honorable Francis Zake was not there. From the military court-martial proceedings, it was only Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu. And so we are waiting to see what the state will do with him. We know he's not in a good state right now, and so probably priority should be giving him medical attention and getting him back on his feet.
Okay. Now, in terms of what you said, intimidating doctors, doesn't government find itself in this position because it doesn't have first-class government hospitals? Why is an honorable member of parliament in a private healthcare facility in the first place?
Samson, who goes to a government hospital in this country if they have a way out?
Okay. Very interesting.
I think, that's a different discussion altogether.
Of course, we do remind you that it was at 11:20 East African Standard Time that Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu was temporarily declared a free man unless he had charges elsewhere. And even he who declared so already knew that there were charges against him elsewhere. So when he stepped out of the confines of the General Court Martial, he found new arrest warrants, I think it was. And the director of CID, Grace Akula, was already inside that court, I think, trying to arrest. But I think we must say there was certainly a very, very classy manner of arrest. So he was driven in a police car. And we want to commend the Uganda Police Force for that. Having seen members of parliament being arrested on police pickups, now that we've moved to a police Pajero, I think the nation is growing. The Uganda Police's image will
I think you have to
doing very well out of that.
You have to wait until if court remands him and see how he will be transported to the main prison in Gulu.
Okay.
Maybe because
you do know
he'll be lucky to sit in the front compartments of that lorry. But
because members of parliament
remember that picture of the honorables Paul Muiru, MP-elect Kasiano.
It's what the police, the prison officers
it's what the prison authorities have.
It's not their fault. That's all they are.
They took a ride on a lorry from the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu to Gulu main prison. And so the discussion about the Pajero might be short-lived, actually.
Joseph, isn't it the same members of parliament who should be responsible for making sure that those prisons have better cars?
It is the appropriation powers lie with Parliament, absolutely. I agree. And then probably the next couple of days we'll see conversations in Parliament about how prisoners are transported and moved around. But again, when we spoke to the officer in charge there, he told us this is what I have and this is what I can give. Okay.
Interesting there. Now that is Gulu Chief Magistrate's Court, where Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu has been moved out of the 4th Division headquarters in Gulu, where the General Court Martial was sitting, and now the action moves to the Chief Magistrate's Court. We also had that this Chief Magistrate last time around said he didn't have jurisdiction. How are we back to the same court that doesn't have jurisdiction?
And the court can hear the charges being read.
Why not in Arua, where the cases were committed?
Again, I saw a very detailed judgment, review ruling by the High Court in Gulu, because the Chief Magistrate had written had referred the matter to the Registrar of the High Court, saying he realized that he had territorial jurisdiction issues. And so it's usually a standard practice that you go to a Chief Magistrate's Court, you're charged, and then you're remanded, the case comes up for mention, until you're committed to the High Court for trial. That's when the real trial starts. Because when you look at the judicature laws, the constitution of this country, it's the High Court that has jurisdiction to try cases, capital offenses like treason, like murder and things like that. And so it has happened before. I have seen a lot of people go through that process before. The process of committal to the High Court is actually a legitimate process in the courts of law.
Now, his health condition, the man is on a clutch, the man was said to be well and in good condition and all, in humorous mood. We haven't seen any humor mood yet. He was in humorous mood yesterday, not yet in humorous mood. They talked of being in deep pain. Yes. He is certainly looking like he is in deep pain. Where is his health condition in all this?
I think depending on who you talk to, we listened to the Honorable Peter Ogwang and Anita Among, again stirring debate in regard to his state, saying he's fine, he just has crutches and, you know, and some pain. The Deputy Speaker saying he's in a lot of pain, repeating that about 3 times. I think now that he is most likely going to end up in civil prison, and then we can get the doctors give us a proper medical report in regard to the state in which he is. I think that is what we'll be looking forward to. Again, as a person, he has a right to privacy. His doctor, his personal doctor, can only reveal those medical history, the details, with his permission. And so we'll be looking forward to how he will personally handle that situation. But you know, previously he was not making any decisions in regard to who can see him, who can't see him, because he was, from the day he was arrested on the 16th of August to 23rd, he has been a guest of the military.
Very interesting. Now, of course, 22 minutes ago, he was temporarily declared free. Where does it leave whoever it was that found a man with guns and has lost interest? You find a man with guns.
You see, I asked this question.
Why would you lose interest when you find a man with guns?
The very time prosecution said, I have instructions to terminate the proceedings. And I asked the question, how did we get here in the first place? And I think it's a conversation the media is going to have to facilitate. You cannot just arrest somebody, take them into the hands of the military, get them into the state in which they are, and then after that, you simply come and say, I have been instructed.
What I'm asking is, if it is true, he was found with guns, the police says they had the guns, they called the media, at least one media outlet, brought that out. And all of a sudden, the state is not interested in charges against a man who it found with guns and has evidence and paraded the guns.
Well, I am going to pass that question over to my colleague Charles Odongtho, the Honorable Dr. Chris Bariomusi, one of the ministers, and scores of, and the government spokesperson of Ono Pondo will be on the front line tonight, alongside General Mugisha Muntu and Nicholas Opio, who was representing the Honorable Chagulanyi in the court martial right there. And so some of these questions are complex.
They're serious.
Yeah, they need the people who made the decisions, who did these things, to respond to them. And I can guarantee you, every journalist worth his name will be asking those questions. The stories you'll be seeing in the media this evening, in the bulletins at 7 and 9, will be attempting to ask those questions. And I'm sure our journalists are on the move to speak to Brigadier Richard Karemire. What formed the decision to terminate the proceedings in the court-martial? How did we get here in the first place? Who got us here? What got us here? And why did we get here? The questions.
If that is gone, yes, couldn't we also see a place where treason charges are also dropped because the state has lost interest?
Again, I think we're in a tricky situation, because then that puts us in a state of speculating about court proceedings, which again will offend.
Media commentators, that's their job, isn't it?
Well, court proceedings do not actually spare media commentators. The sub judice rule covers the press very, very. They say,
you've already started sub judice.
They say we can only report accurately on court proceedings.
Okay.
And so we can discuss
they haven't
that now.
Yet begun.
We can discuss that now because the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi hasn't been charged officially in any court yet.
Yes.
And so that's why we can have this conversation.
But once that starts,
once that starts, then we're going to go to the rules of
now that it
yes.
hasn't begun, let me ask the question: do you see a scenario in which these could be dropped or the state just loses interest?
Let me use my journalistic history to give you. Dr. Kizza Besigye is facing charges of treason.
Yes.
You know that up to now the proceedings haven't kicked off.
Yeah.
They say he declared himself president and he said, yes, I did. Please.
Let's go with this.
The state says we are still investigating. He's saying, what are you investigating? I have just said I did. I won the elections. That's another
Recently
scenario.
they dropped rape charges.
Yes, after about 13 years, they dropped rape charges against him. Remember all the embarrassment, the humiliation his personality was subjected to. And again, we are talking about the state. They will decide what to do with this case and how to go about it, Samson. That's all I can say in regard to the charges that are about to be read to the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi.
And every so often, he'll have to go back to report to Gulu if he ever gets bail.
That's if he gets bail.
Okay.
And then so he will have to be subject to the court proceedings and as well as to the conditions of bail, remember, first of all.
Okay, very interesting. For those of you watching NBS television, it's about 11:46 and about 26 minutes ago, within the General Court Martial sitting within the confines of the 4th Division headquarters in Gulu, that is chaired by General Andrew Guti, and General Andrew Guti just recently got a new term. Court proceedings are about to begin, and let's just take you live to the Chief Magistrate's Court in Gulu.
Honorable Kasiano Ward Rezati, Karohanga Gerard, Mwiru Paul, Mavite Michael, Sebufu John Mary, Musisi William Nyanzi, Atiku Shaban, Handama Richard, Anen Muhammad, Handama Andwad Doka, Jaga Muhammad, Wali Aloro, Asiku Tom, Ojotre Stephen, Odong John Bosco, Anika Charles, Asega Abibu Jogo, Tamale Wilberforce, Butelezi Nur Manzu, Akira Maida, Faruku Akbaran, Gamba Tumusime, Mandela Nelson, Obeti Simon, Rajisa Sam, Nalibowa Caroline, Garumbe Amid, Odong Rasul, Abola Jen, Ijotre Bashir, Asara Naiti, Amid Juma.
May it please your worship? Yes. My name is Patrick Samia. I'm the resident serious deputy. Yes. Your worship, I appear for the state. Together with my junior secretary, Nakaba Catholic. Worship, my name is Meda Kulega Sabona. I appear for the accused persons, together with my last friends, Mr. Kenneth Kokakande, Mr. Gitara Tony, Mr. Layoko Julius, Kenneth Kokakande, yes. Mr. Kitara Tony, Mr. Layo O. Julius, yes. Mr. Katana Benjamin, for the accused persons. Yes. Your worship, the matter is before you this morning to the Honorable has present an amended charge. referred one more accused person to the 32 whose names have been called. Yes, please. In the name of Father Muchakulani, Sentamu Robert, also known as Bobi, is the 33rd accused person in this case. The 33rd, yes. The 32 names were called already. To represent a nominated church, but
Worship, we would like to have a copy of the church.
do you want to take a look at this, or you will get a copy later?
Okay, we will receive it. You gave me one which was not amended. But no, not amended. So I'm asking for the amendment.
Your Worship, we shall provide my learned friend for the accused persons a copy of the church, the amended church.
That's all right.
Amended church, when is the accused person?
I don't know. Worship, they should have been approved.
What is the accused person?
No, he should be in better position to tell me where the accused is.
To the best of my knowledge, Your Worship, he is within the court premises.
Okay, let him go.
We are not in a position to proceed without it. It has to be presented.
Maybe a standover? How long will it take for him to appear, Mr. Mayor?
Less than 2 minutes, Your Worship.
You see, Your Worship, I want us to be realistic. I'm an officer of this court. I think let's stand over the matter for
Let us stand over the matter.
He's not in good health, and I'm sure the prison authorities are
Properly. So we are standing over this matter for 5 minutes to enable the accused person to appear. 5 minutes only. As we call other files. No, I have other issues, please. It's not that I'm handling only this matter. It is normal business in court today.
We thought we are your only business.
No, you can call it the other file. Where is my prison's officers?
Worship, we are here in Civil suit number 55 of 2013, Lacon Diana versus Okot Diana.
Tell them court is in session, please.
Please, excuse me, keep quiet. What is in session?
Just cancel. Yes?
This is supposed to tell us to be possible. That is on the 11th of October.
October?
11th October at 9.
Adjourned to 11th of October 2018 at 9 o'clock.
Civil suit number 55 of 2016, Sarafino Kumo versus Onek Charles Dom Severino.
This was the public for
they in court?
The defendants are in court.
Who is that one? That's for the defendants?
Yes. I don't come up for defense. You're going to be given a date.
That is when?
Yeah.
Is it 11th October?
Yes.
11th day of October 2018 at 9 o'clock. Trial magistrate is indisposed.
Supervision number 45 for 2013, Zira Court versus Ongom Johnny, Verena Award.
Yes.
Yes. For the plaintiff, Counsel Michael Court only been for Mr. Yet.
Tunama kwa catch for
the plaintiff.
Yes.
Counsel Court Michael also been for the Counsel Yet for the defense. We pray for them very much. I think they're proposing 11th of October. I'm not sure when it's 11th of October.
Which day?
I think 11th of October.
Mr. Dupa, how many people are you intending to bring? They are fine. Adupa, let's put them aside and bring it up to one. Then we shall hear later. Mr. Kirama?
Yeah.
This one is 11th day of October.
The Sylvia's application number 90 of
Hold on a little bit. Just
just pray for your staff to get one chair from the chambers. We don't have to get the chair. One chair, let's go. Okay, the call is from the next call. You can't form a chair, pick one from the chamber. Let me get
charge the others too.
Are we on the same page now?
Yes. We shift from first, we are joined by Mr. Kumakech Kalama. And Mr. Nicholas Opiyo.
You are joined by Mr.
Kumakech Kalama and Mr. Nicholas Opiyo. And Mr. Wameli. Mr. Wameli and Mr. Ochaya Achila.
Wameli
Anthony.
Achila.
And Achila Ochaya. Ochaya Achila Paul. The accused person is finally here.
I hope you've gotten a copy of the amended charge sheet.
I have not, but
We can proceed then. Okay?
Shall I bring them, my lordship? The state has shortly, yeah. I beg to do that.
Okay. Mr. Honorable Kyagulanyi, you are 22 years of...
The accused person is not in a position to stand.
I will accommodate him in that state. You are 22 years of age. I don't know whether he understands English. He does English?
Your worship is 36, not 32.
It's okay. It's okay. It was a slip of the tongue. Mr. Kyagulanyi Sentamu Robert, alias Bobi Wine, you are a male adult Ugandan, 36 years of age. You are a Muganda by tribe, a member of parliament for Chadondo East constituency. You are a resident of Magere village in Kasanga Town Council. It is in Wakiso district. You are charged with an offense of treason. It's contrary to section 23, subsection 1B of the Penal Code, Cap 120 laws of Uganda. Prosecution alleges that you, together with Kasiano Ezati Wadri, Karuhanga Gerard, Paul Mwiru, Michael Mabike, Sewufu John Mary, Musi William Nyanzi, Atiku Shaban, Adama Bennett, Onen Mohammed, Adama Anwar Doka, Ijaga Muhammad, Wani Aloro, Asiku Tom, Ijotre Stephen, Odong John Bosco, Aniku Charles, Asega Abibu Jogo, Tamale Wilberforce, Butelezi Nur Manzul, Akila Maida, Farouk Abdurrahman, Gamba Tumusime, Mandela Nelson, Obeti Simon alias Edega, Rajani Sam, Nalvoa Caroline, Galumbe Amit, Odonk Rasul, Abora Jen, Jetre Bashir, Asala Naiti, Amidu Juma, Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert alias Bobi Wine, and others still at large. On the 13th day of August 2018, at Arua municipality and other places within Uganda, with the intent to do harm to the person of the President of the Republic of Uganda, unlawfully aimed and threw stones, thereby hitting and smashing the rear windscreen of the presidential car. The charge you are charged with is capital in nature, and this court has no jurisdiction to try it or to even allow you speak any word pertaining the charge. The best I can do is to give you another date.
Yeah, Your Worship, inquiries in this matter are complete. Police are yet in the process of gathering more evidence. In the circumstances, we pray that the accused person be remanded. The first 32 accused persons were remanded to 30th. Yes, 30th this month, when the matter will come before this court commences.
Yes.
Your Worship, we appreciate that this court cannot make orders related to the charge. But we have a prayer over which this court is to with the powers to make direction. Considering that the police is proceeding with investigations to recover that heavy stone, and considering the physical and emotional appearance of the accused person, as you will kind of observe, he has been in detention since the 15th day of August 2018. He was badly, since 15th August 2018, was badly beaten and brutalized by the military, both at arrest and during detention. And has not received treatment except painkillers and massaging to reduce the swollen face.
Yes.
It is therefore our prayer that, considering his state of health, whereas we do not object to the remand, he be remanded in a hospital where he can receive treatment. We do not object to him being guarded by prison authorities while he receives treatment. But it is a matter of urgency that he receives the treatment he deserves, which he cannot receive while in prison. Your Worship, the last time we appeared, we made an application that the accused persons, in this case, who had equally been brutalized, some could not sit, could not stand. One night, Sarah in particular, was releasing blood in private parts, needed urgent treatment, and to date, the prison authorities have not submitted them to receive the same. We pray that you be pleased to direct again that both the other children and this particular chosen person access medical care. But in particular, the Honorable Shaburan Center, Night Asera,
Shaburan, Night Asera,
then Abola, all the ladies and
this particular gentleman. We refer to a private health facility in the region where they can be guarded but also receive treatment. Fairness requires that you try a person who is alive and is in a position to defend himself or herself. That is, the physical and mental state must be well by that person. Anything to the contrary is an unfair trial, is torture sanctioned by the state, and that renders the trial penalty, health and life, and constitutional ground. I therefore pray, Your Honor, that you find the better in making this.
State, would you like to respond?
Lordship, with the greatest respect to my friend, this person, what he's leveling to do is to give evidence of the bar. We don't have any evidence that somebody was utilized to the extent that he made. But in the event that...
Do you have an objection for the accused person to be given treatment if needed anyway?
Lordship, what we shall do is the prison authorities are aware and capable of taking whoever is not capable of being treated by them to a facility that he or she can receive treatment from. So, to that extent, in the event that there is somebody who was utilized as a lady, although there is no evidence, we shall cross-check with the prison authorities, and I believe the situation will be handled.
The only reason we cannot bring photographic evidence is because...
Let me first finish his reply. Are you saying that the prison authority can provide the necessary treatment? All?
Your Worship, to the best of our understanding,
you are saying there is no evidence?
They can provide treatment, and in the event that they cannot, they can always take whoever needs treatment that cannot be provided within their facility to a better facility. This has always been done ever since prison has been in existence. So we believe they will handle it.
Worship, I wonder whether he doesn't need an affidavit. Now, I'm being raised evidence from the bar. But the only reason I cannot bring that evidence is because they have refused to afford them access to health care. Because the only evidence somebody can submit can only be from medical treatment, which he has denied the accused person. The next evidence, Your Worship, is the physical appearance. With respect to the accused before you, you can see for yourself. Now, with respect to the other accused I have mentioned, the London Chief Magistrate who handled that looked at them, was satisfied, and made the orders. So, the continuous refusal is actually in contempt, and I do not think the professional has space for contempt. I wish I was my argument.
I have heard and considered both submission of the Land State Attorney and Defense Counsel on this matter pertaining to the health of the accused person. I have also had the opportunity to take a look at accused, specifically A33, in respect of his health. And I believe this court, as custodians of justice, cannot sit back as the health of the accused persons is deteriorating. It is the considered opinion of this court that the accused person, particularly A33 and others in similar condition, are allowed to access their private doctors at any time, as and when. And those who cannot afford the private doctors are hereby direct the prison's authorities to take them to the necessary facilities to ensure that their health is guaranteed. I so order. Matter adjourned, you are hereby remanded until the 30th day of August 2018, when the others will come up.
The Chief Magistrate in Gulu Chief Magistrate's Court has ordered that the accused persons at about 12:19, especially A33, be allowed to access their private doctors, saying that in the interest of justice, the court cannot sit back while the accused person's health conditions continue to deteriorate, and made some orders there. Joseph Sabiti and myself are joined by an advocate here, Kale Ahmed Mukasa, Counsel, should I call you that?
Yes,
it's certainly a pleasure to have you around.
Pleasure.
Just walk us through your first thoughts of what has just gone on.
Well, I would like to think that first of all, it was a good step at the GCM level to have the matter transferred to the
General Court Martial.
General Court Martial, to have the matter transferred to a civilian court. And I think the guidance of the good position of the General Court Martial has been informed by the previous guidance of the Supreme Court on this issue. Okay. The Supreme Court in 2006 guided that there cannot be two concurrent trials on the same set of facts by the same accused person. It also said that where there is a trial like this is going to be a treason trial in the High Court, the General Court Martial, being a subordinate court to the High Court, it is only proper that the matter then be tried by a superior court, which is the High Court.
Okay.
So I think the position of the General Court Martial is a good one.
Okay.
In respect of the rule of law, in respect for constitutionalism. I have heard the chairman of the General Court Martial clearly say that his decision is informed by the respect for constitutionalism, fair trial, and the fact that they cannot have two concurrent trials, both in the GCM and the High Court, on the same facts, charges arising out of the same facts.
Just so that, somebody, you put this very well, but the viewer would be asking, since this was known already, why did we get here to realize what we already knew?
No, what I'm not clear about is who charged these people first. I think for the case of Honorable Chagulanyi, the General Court Martial charged him first, because as you've just seen here, the charge sheet has only been amended in the Chief Magistrate's Court to include him as an accused person.
Meaning he had no case there?
So he had no case there. Okay. The charge sheet has just
so
been
when you say
amended.
charged him first,
yes,
meaning it was the first to take?
Absolutely. The General Court Martial did not charge him when he already had other charges which were pending against him.
Did it know what you're just enumerating from the Supreme Court decision?
Absolutely, because it knew if there were other previous charges, of course the General Court Martial could not have charged him with offences arising out of the same facts.
Did it trump on the law?
And once, no, of course not, because at that point there were no charges against the Honorable Chagulanyi. So the GCM was right, okay, to charge him with the charges. It did charge him, but once it became apparent that there were other charges against him which were going to be handled by a superior court, the High Court in this case, then it did good and in line with the Constitution to then drop the charges against him and let him be charged and tried by a superior court.
So who now comes to the General Court Martial to make it aware that there are other offences of the same person in other courts?
What I have learned is that this morning the Director of Public Prosecutions wrote to the General Court Martial and informed them that they are going to amend the charge sheet in the Chief Magistrate's Court and include Honorable Chagulanyi as an accused person. From that moment, then the GCM was within its rights and in line with the Constitution to then stop the charges at that level and hand over to the High Court for trial. Absolutely, that's what happened. The DP informed them.
My colleague Joseph Sabiri wants to ask.
I just wanted us to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
How did a civilian end up in a General Court Martial when we have had previous precedents? We saw the legal battle between Dr. Besigye and the state and how his case was transferred to the civilian courts. How did we get here in the first place?
You see, every person, you see the UPDF Act has a number of offences which are generally known as service offences. If a civilian may be subject, okay, to the trial within the GCM if he has committed a service offence. That issue, I've been reading the Supreme Court decision in the Attorney General case, and that position was not made clear by the Supreme Court because it was a direct issue on appeal in the Supreme Court, but there was no particular decision on whether the Supreme Court did not say that no civilian may end up in the General Court Martial. What they said that time was that the General Court Martial could not try cases, the same ones being tried by the High Court at that level. And secondly, that for some of the charges for which Dr. Besigye had been charged with were only triable by the High Court under the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2002. But the Supreme Court did not say that no civilian may end up in a military court. If a civilian has committed an offense, a service offense under the UPDF Act.
Would you mind explaining to the common Ugandan,
yes,
how does this service offense, what qualifies, what is that locus to say a civilian can go before a military court?
You see, the service offense, all offenses under the UPDF Act are service offenses. They generally call service offenses.
Okay.
But there is a lot of them. Okay. Now, if a civilian commits one of them, the General Court Martial has the original unlimited jurisdiction to try that person.
Counsel, what we're asking here, in basic terms, the army comes to Kasumba's house and finds a gun. Is that a service offense?
It would be, if that gun is a monopoly of the service of the defense forces.
Okay.
If, for example, I don't know the types of guns that they are, but if the particular gun they found with you is a monopoly of the defense forces, then you could go for the General Court Martial.
I wanted to tap on your legal knowledge. You lawyers understand this. What qualifies finding a gun in my house? Are there procedures that, because there's a basis, need for a basis to institute an offense against me? Do you just walk into my house or hotel, bulge in, pick a gun? Is there a procedure? Was it followed in this case?
Precisely. I've gone to Mombasa. You guys, they come to my house. There's nobody around.
Is there a procedure? Is there due process needed?
Yes. Well, in this particular set of facts, I have not I'm not sure whether each and every bit of procedure was followed. I am not part of the investigation process, so I'm not too sure. I don't want to speculate on whether it was followed or it was not followed. But, like you said, if they walk into your house and find a gun, if the gun is a monopoly of the service, what
we're asking, the principle, do you just walk into my house and say you found a gun?
Well, of course,
tapping on your knowledge of the law.
You see, if you've committed an offense, even if it is not a gun, even if it is a rape or anything, if police, for example, or any investigative machinery receives information that a crime is being committed there, you do not expect them first to give you a warning, a summons, or how they will come to your house and find out whether.
What happens to the language of search warrants?
Well, search warrants are, of course, used if the circumstances permit. Okay, but
is that the position of the law?
Absolutely. If the circumstances, you see, if they tell you, for example, that Sabiti is raping a woman right in the next room, do you want police, for example, to first go to court and get such warrant, come and see whether Sabiti is raping a woman? Of course not.
In the circumstances that these are known people, known members of parliament with known residences, a known hotel in which they were staying, does the state just budge in, or they needed to follow some process?
For me, of course, if there is a process they had to follow,
yes.
I am not too sure if they followed it or not.
Like but I wanted the principle.
Is there a process? What's the process? Yes, there should be a process.
Yes.
Okay? But, like I said, these processes would only be stuck to if the circumstances permit.
That's why, Council, that's why I'll take you to what Major General Mugisha Muntu said over these matters when you were in Gulu Sabiri. He said, the UPDF has the capacity, unless it argues it doesn't, it has the capacity to cordon off the hotel and make sure nobody's coming in, nobody's going out for as long as it takes
to get the search
while the processes are going on. Just a second. While the processes are going on. And he says that why is that important? It is because it is important in this case that everybody understands that nobody is framing, even if the situation is Kasumba, nobody is framing Kasumba, a journalist, over other matters. And in the event that wasn't done, is this credible?
Well, you see, for me, Mr. Kasumba, I don't want to speak too much into these current facts, in all honesty, because I don't know what has happened and what has not happened. Like all of us.
That's why I use the example of Kasumba.
Maybe you journalists.
Let's take away from
let me just hold this point. If a certain process was supposed to be followed and we are not followed, or we are followed, at this point in time, I'm not in position to know, because we have all been hearing from Sabiti, from Kasumba, from who and whoever. I'm not in a position to speak comfortably about this fact.
So that's why, just a second, that's why I said, for the benefit of the viewer.
Because something that I asked about the principles. We're not talking about the facts. We're saying in law what is supposed to be done to get credible evidence from as such. The principle in law.
You see, in our jurisdiction, unfortunately, until I think fairly recently, there has been no rule of law on how evidence should be obtained. But until recently, the courts have said, if you obtain certain pieces of evidence, maybe through torture and what, those things may not be acceptable. But what I know for sure is that if the circumstances of the case do not permit, the fact that somebody has to follow every inch of the process.
Is there qualification for those scenarios?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. In principle, of course, if somebody has committed a crime, you would expect, that someone is going to get a search warrant and find guns in your house and blah, blah, blah. But if the circumstances of the case are such that you will not be able to get a search warrant in time, for example, to save evidence, what do you do? What do? You go and correct the evidence, and probably explain to the court why a certain procedure was not followed. These procedures, by the way,
isn't that disastrous?
These procedures, by the way, are not cast in stone. They always have exceptions. Almost all our rules of law
if you
have exceptions.
Are a defense counsel and Kasumba is before the General Court Martial, and while he was in Mombasa, somebody came to his house. There was nobody. Got in there. Found 30 guns, and then told court that we are arresting Kasumba on return at Entebbe because
they found guns in his house.
What would you first do?
As a defense counsel?
Yes,
of course, my argument would be, my line of defense would be that these guns probably were not in his house. Somebody brought them.
Why?
But that is because you see, because maybe Kasumba wasn't there, maybe whatever. But you see,
Then they would argue the circumstances did not allow us to wait for Kasumba to return.
Absolutely. For Kasumba to return, we had, of course, it will be competing lines of evidence. There are competing lines of argument.
Do you think that would be fair to you and to your client?
To do what?
You see, Council, the question we are asking is this: that is this good practice in the legal process in this country, that you walk into it? It hasn't just happened. We're not even talking about the facts of this particular case. The security officers showed up, and previous cases have shown. You have seen, for example, the Dr. Besigye treason case earlier, the rape charges. After going through all that, the evidence just collapses in court. Isn't there need to establish procedure?
I think for me,
good practice.
I think for me, I'll tell you this: what our investigating officers need to do, because some of these cases are high profile.
Okay.
Some of these cases require require evidence to be put together in a very subtle way. So I think what this people need to do, without laying as a hard and fast rule that A, B, C, D should be done for this kind of evidence to be picked. What they should concentrate on, in my view, is picking evidence clearly.
Yes.
Picking evidence properly. Okay? I do not subscribe to the view, though, that if I need to find that Sabit has committed an offense in circumstances which do not...
Picture the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu out of Gulu, where the magistrate has asked that he be given access to medical care, because the court cannot sit back and just watch the health of the man deteriorating. And as we show you these pictures, Joseph Sabiti, I think he's luckier than the lot who went on a trial.
Yeah, absolutely. The last time I was there, the Honourables Paul Mwiru and Gerard Karuhanga were boarding a lorry at about that time, headed to Gulu main prison. I think he's being treated with a bit of...
Does this paint the picture that they understand the nature of person that they are dealing with?
I'm not going to discuss politics when I have a lawyer. I'm more interested in the legalese that we are discussing. We'll talk politics tomorrow, because Council, a lot of questions have been asked. For example, if we can examine the operations of the court-martial, that Samson Kasumba is arrested by the military, detained in a barracks, investigated by the military, prosecuted by the military, to be judged by the military. Does that beat the common sense of justice?
Of course, let me tell you, Sabiti, you see, if an offense is within the jurisdiction of the court-martial, all of those things you have said must be done by the UPDF. If an offense...
Even when the commander-in-chief already says, I was stoned by Bobi Wine and
the commander-in-chief is not the investigating officer at the GCM.
He calls the shots.
He probably don't even participate in the investigation. So he doesn't know who stoned and who didn't stone. And the general court-martial is not under the direction of the president. Absolutely not.
Is that in practice or just in theory?
Well, I know that it's not under the direction of the practice.
In principle.
In principle.
The reality is very different.
That I don't know. Well, that I don't know. What I know is that the court does not operate under the supervision or direction of the president. It's an independent institution which can even try him at a certain point if it is required, if he probably left office and that kind of thing. What I need to tell you very clearly is that whether somebody is picked by the general court-martial, investigated, tried, given bail, convicted, all that is permissible under the law if it is a service offense. If the person being subjected to this entire process is a person subject to military law, then the UPDF, the general court-martial, can do all of those things.
Because cancel the reason,
just like in a normal case, the police picks up somebody, investigates, takes them to court. All these kinds of things are done by
the reason we are asking here is we are in a nation where people have enemies. If somebody throws a gun over my fence and several rounds of ammunition in my compound, then he runs to the army and says, Kasumba has guns, let's go to his house, and I'm not there, and they find them, I'm done. Is it going to be that easy?
No, you're not done. No, you're not done. Because where you find ammunition and guns in your compound, that's the end of the story, gentlemen. It's not the end of the story. There's a whole investigation process that is then carried out. There's a whole trial process that then goes on. Do you want to intimate to me that everybody who goes for the general court-martial is convicted?
No.
Of course not.
By the time the process goes on, I may be properly beaten by the time the process happens.
People who go for the general court martial, it is not a cast in stone thing that
I want to give information, that my journalistic history tells me there is no single civilian who has been comfortable being tried in the court martial. While people don't mind about the civilian,
being comfortable is a different thing, and being a provision of the law is also a different thing. I am personally not even comfortable going before a chief magistrate court because I don't want to.
No, what I'm saying is this, yes.
But if you are subject to military law and the jurisdiction of the GCM, you cannot say that because you are uncomfortable going to the GCM, so you don't want to go there. It's not about comfort. If you are subject to their law, you're supposed to go there. Okay. But the point I was making was that it is not a done deal that whoever goes there is
okay. Just about GCM before
very briefly we need to go.
I have gone through this. You have kept me in your barracks. I have even there are even allegations that you've tortured me badly. I can't stand. And then you just walk to me and say we have instructions to terminate the case.
You have remedies.